we're still working with double factoring, and this video has two examples to help you through that. So we're going to begin with the first, which is 5x squared plus 8x plus 3. And we're going to use these same 6 steps to figure out what the factor is. The reason why we have to use the double factoring method is because, look here, our a value, it's not 1, it's a 5. So we can't just use the regular factoring method with the diamond. So let's begin with the first step, which is the outsides. We want to multiply the 5 and the 3. So 5 times 3 is 15. Okay? So that's a check. Next, we want to make our diamond. Our diamond is made with what we just found on the top, AC, and B on the bottom. So I'm going to do that right now. 15 goes on the top. My B value, 8, goes on the bottom. So what multiplies to 15 and adds to 8? Let's do our factors, shall we? So what multiplies to 15? Obvious, 15 and 1. Then you could do 5 and 3. And that's all there is. So we have to use some form of these. Well, 5 times 3 multiplies to 15 and also adds to 8. So I'm going to put 5 and 3 right here. So we just did our diamond. Check. Next, we have to take what we just found, the 5 and the 3, replace it with our middle term. So we keep our front term at 5x squared. We substitute 5x and 3x in for the 8x part, because notice if you add them, 5 plus 3 is 8x. And then we want to add on our very last c, which is 3. Okay? So there we took care of the middle term. Next, we want to do our parentheses. So number 4, I'm going to take 5x squared plus 5x, put parentheses around those first two, put a plus sign in. You always put a plus sign in, always a plus sign, even if it's a negative. And then you write what's left inside the parentheses. Okay? Next, we're on to step number 5. We want to find the common factors out of each of these. So we want to find the common factors out of the 5x squared plus 5x and out of the 3x plus 3. All right, so looking at this, I'm actually going to write this up over here, my results. So what can be taken out of the 5x squared and the 5x from each of those? Well, each has a 5 and each has an x, so I can take out a 5x. So I'm going to write 5x. So what's left if I take out a 5 and an x from the first term? There'd just be an x. And what would be left after I take a 5 and an x out of the second term? Well, nothing, but we need something to put there, so we put a 1. All right. Next, for our second grouping, what do they have in common? Well, they both have a 3 in common. So we're going to take out a 3 from each of these. So I'm going to write plus 3. So if I take a 3 out of the 3x, I'm left with x. And if I take a 3 out of the 3, I'm just left with my plus 1. Notice, if I take 5x times x, I'm going to get 5x squared. 5x times 1, I'm going to get 5x. That's what I wanted. And if I take 3 times x, I get 3x, which I wanted. And 3 times 1, I'd get 3, which is what I wanted. So they're the same thing, we're just rearranging them. Okay? So our last step is to rearrange it, so then we have our answer. So that was step number 5. Now step number 6, we take what we have in parentheses. Is it the same thing? It is, so that means we did it correctly. So I'm going to write x plus 1 as our first part of the solution, and then we want to just take what's left over and write it in the second parenthesis. So we have a 5x, a plus 3. That's our answer. You want to check it, FOIL it, or do your box method. So I'm doing the box method. X plus 1 is right here. 5x plus 3 is right here. This results in 5x squared plus 5x, 3x and 3. So that'd be 5x squared plus 8x plus 3. Is that the same thing we started with? Yep, it is. So we have the right answer. Let's do another example. just want to mention, this is the answer. This is what you want in the end. You don't want to do this. This is just your check. So that's just your check to make sure you're right. This is your answer though. X plus 1 and 5x plus 3. So let me erase this quick now. Okay, so our next problem is 3x squared minus 16x plus 5. We have a negative in there now. Alright, so let's erase these check marks since we're starting over. We want to begin with the outside, so I'm going to multiply the a value and the c value together. So 3 times 5, that's 15. Alright, outsides are done. Next, make your diamond, putting what you just found on top and your middle term on the bottom. So what I just found on top is 15. The middle term on the bottom, that would be b, the negative 16. Next, list your factors of 15. The top number, 15 times 1, 5 times 3. Now which of these has a difference of 16? Well, 15 and 1, when you add them together you get 16. So if I put a negative on the 15 because it has to follow the bottom, that doesn't quite equal it, but then I put a negative with the 1, that equals negative 16. Negative 15 times negative 1 is just regular old 15, so we did it correctly. So these are our answers for the diamond, negative 15 and negative 1. So diamond's done. Next, we want to work with the middle term. So let's rewrite it. Start with the front term, the ax squared, which is 3x squared. Now for the middle term, the negative 16x, write what your solutions were. Our solutions were the negative 15 and the negative 1. So we're going to write negative 15x minus 1x and plus 5. The c comes down after you have the two middle terms written out. Alright, so you did the middle term part. Now you have to do your parentheses. So I'm going to write 3x squared minus 15x, parentheses. Next, I'm going to write a plus sign. I always write my plus sign, no matter if it's negative or not. And I write negative 1x plus 5. Okay? So I did my parentheses. That's checked. Now I'm just going to put an arrow up here. And let's write number 5 where we all can see it. Our next step is to find the common factor. So that means, what can you take out of the parentheses? So what can I take out of this that both these numbers have, the 3x squared and the negative 15x? Well, I can take out a 3 from the front one, and I can take out a 3 from the second one too. And I can take out an x from the front one, and an x from the second one as well. So let's take out 3x. If I take out 3x, I'm left with x minus, if I take a 3 out of 15, I'm left with 5. If I take an x out of negative 15x, I don't have any more x's. So let's look at the second term. We see that we have negative 1x plus 5. So what can we take out of there so we can just be left with an x and a number? Well, we can take out a negative 1. That's always easy. So let's write negative 1 on the outside. If we take a negative 1 away from the negative 1x, you'd just be left with x. If you take a negative 1 from the plus 5, you'd be left with negative 5. That's going to be the tricky part. You have to remember that that's going to be a negative 5. Because if you take negative 1, multiply it by negative 5, you're going to get out positive 5. Okay? Now check. Did you do this correctly? Do we have an x minus 5 and an x minus 5? We do. So then we know we did it. Both parentheses have to match. So we did our common factors correctly. Number 6, our answer. Take what's in the parentheses for 1, x minus 5. And for the second part, combine the two outside numbers and variables. So here's our answer. Now let's check it to make sure. I'm doing the box method. So x and negative 5, 3x and negative 1. That would be 3x squared minus 15x minus x plus 5. That would be 3x squared minus 16x plus 5. Is that what we started with? Yes, it is. So we did it correctly. I went through these examples fast, so go back and watch the video again and take it nice and slow so you can look at all my numbers and listen to what I'm saying. But that's all I have for the examples of double factoring.